In a bustling corner of the city, amidst the noise of passing vehicles and the bustle of daily life, a tiny, trembling figure crouched near a gas station. This was Ivy, a small kitten no more than a few weeks old, abandoned and left to fend for herself. Her fragile body bore the marks of days spent wandering alone, her ribs faintly visible beneath her thin fur. Ivy hadn't eaten in days, and her tiny frame quivered from the cold and fear of the endless chaos around her. What would happen next to Ivy? Be sure to keep watching. The rescuer first noticed Ivy while stopping at the gas station. At first glance, she seemed like a shadow, blending into the surroundings. But as the rescuer approached, they saw the telltale signs of a life desperately clinging to survival. Ivy's wide, frightened eyes seemed to plead for help, her small mews barely audible over the sounds of engines and footsteps. Moved by her plight, the rescuer quickly took action. With a gentle touch, they offered Ivy her first meal in days, a simple gesture of kindness that carried so much weight. Ivy hesitated at first, wary of the human presence, but hunger soon overcame her fear. She cautiously nibbled at the food, her small body trembling with each bite. For the rescuer, it was a heartbreaking yet hopeful sight. This little kitten, so fragile and alone, had found someone willing to care. Determined to give Ivy a second chance, the rescuer carefully picked her up and carried her to safety. Back at their home, they prepared a warm and comfortable space for her. Here, Ivy's journey to recovery would begin. The rescuer decided to name her Ivy, a name symbolizing loyalty, resilience, strength, and eternal life. It was a fitting name for a kitten who had already shown so much determination to survive. The first few days were critical. Ivy was severely underweight, and her tiny body struggled to adjust to regular feeding. The rescuer ensured she received small, frequent meals of nutritious food, giving her the energy she desperately needed. Each meal brought a little more life to her eyes and a bit more strength to her fragile frame. Despite her challenging start, Ivy began to show signs of resilience, living up to the name she had been given. A visit to the veterinarian was the next step in Ivy's journey. The vet confirmed that Ivy was underweight and in need of immediate care to address her nutritional deficiencies. Fortunately, there were no major injuries or illnesses beyond the effects of malnourishment and exposure. With medication, supplements, and a proper feeding plan, Ivy's condition slowly began to improve. The rescuer's dedication and the support of friends ensured that Ivy had everything she needed for her recovery. As days turned into weeks, Ivy's transformation was nothing short of miraculous. Her once dull and matted fur grew soft and shiny, and her eyes, once filled with fear, now sparkled with curiosity and playfulness. She began exploring her new environment, her tiny paws padding across the floor as she chased after toys. Each playful pounce and every contented purr was a testament to her growing strength and trust in the humans who had saved her. Ivy's journey didn't just change her life, it touched the hearts of everyone involved. Her story became a symbol of hope and the incredible resilience of animals in the face of adversity. For her rescuer, Ivy was a reminder of the importance of compassion and the profound difference a single act of kindness can make. Today, Ivy continues to thrive in her foster home, surrounded by love and care. She's become a beacon of inspiration, reminding everyone that even the smallest lives are worth saving. Her story encourages others to open their hearts to animals in need, showing that with a little effort and a lot of love, even the most fragile lives can blossom into something beautiful. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving us a thumbs up, tell us what you think in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.